First curly question for the night. When you're dealing with the members of NCHAM, what's the thing that they come and complain to you about when doing business in the United States?
The regulation. You know, they say, well, and rightfully so, there are quite a few standards that Australia punches well above its weight. But you get to the US and you've got a product, and it's fully certified, it's been in multiple countries, and then they go, well, it doesn't have a little US flag on it, so you have to start, you know, in this line and start with a basic regulation. So regulation is a massive issue. It's a massive disconnect. Moving people across borders. Most of our clients have operations in multiple countries, so they're constantly moving software engineers or designers back and forth, visas, that sort of stuff. And then that old chestnut litigation. U.S. has, you know, pretty much got a patent on litigation. So
we'll probably get to IP in a little bit too. Matt Tett, I could perhaps ask you the second curly question of the night.
I didn't do it.
Enex TestLab came out of RMIT University specifically for testing stuff. A very specific name and very clear purpose. Most recently, you were commissioned, or your organisation was commissioned, by Senator Stephen Conroy's mob. I don't know which department or whatever it was.
Department of Broadband.
The Department of Broadband.
Yep.
To test his highly controversial internet filter.
Yep.
They start to say. Okay.
Yeah, where's the tomatoes? Where's the
Where's
tomatoes?
I'll ask the question. How did that come about? Where's it at now? What next?
How did it come about?
Yeah, did you just get a phone call one day and you went, oh, this
I
is
thought you said we only had till 9 o'clock.
Oh, right, okay.
Has anyone seen Yes Minister? Well, it came about fairly straightforwardly. The department went out to tender and we responded to the tender for testing internet content filters in a live environment, and we did it.
Did you know it was going to be controversial?
Of course, we've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years. We've done the last 3 trials in Australia, which sort of keep getting butt swept under the rug, but each one's as controversial as the next, and they're building up in crescendo, I must say. So.
Are you allowed to share any thoughts on where you think it will head, whether you think it'll get off the ground or not?
I can share whatever thoughts you want. I'm not
Okay,
a representative of the government. We're an independent test lab.
Do you think it'll get off the ground?
I don't know.
Do you think that there will be an internet filter for us Australians?
Wouldn't have a clue.
You wouldn't have a clue.
The technical testing, so we don't get involved in the politics or the ethics or the emotion. Or we do the boring stuff. Sorry, what's that?
Is what you're testing work?
Yeah, there's certain criteria that we set when we develop our methodologies, and we don't set it to any government criteria, as everyone seems to assume. And some things work and some things don't work. But with any technology, with any platform, anything we test, there's the good and the bad, and that's what we test, and we report on it. And everything's in the report. And if whoever delivers the report or releases publicly wants to cherry pick from that report, but the report's out there so people can read it, and there's good and there's bad. And of course, if the government has an agenda or a policy, they're only going to pick the good. But if people actually read the report, which no one ever does, they'll actually see that there's bad as well. And so there's all these groups out there with all this, you know, Enex is a puppet for the government, Enex is, you know, thanks for helping to screw Australia was one of the comments, and that's our new logo, by the way. And I must say, in the context of this evening, we have operations in China and the UK as well, so we're helping to screw the world. Right? So yeah, and yeah, it's. I mean, our job's boring. We do boring work. It's technical. It's, you know, the media love hyping it up. The media love talking about it.
Points at me.
Yeah, point at you. You're the media. You know, I had a 3-minute conversation with James the other day in the car, and you saw the result of it. You know? Spins.
Yeah. And while assembling the panel and picking who was going to be a member of our Spice Boys tonight, I did check out some of those comments, and it was that there are some crazy people out there.
That's awesome. I love it.
That really don't like, so you must be doing well.
And they love us.
You must be doing well. That's our philosophy at Anthill anyway. First gig outside of Australia, what was it?
Well, we've been running for 21 years, and I've only been there for about 7, and my company took over from the uni 5 years ago. So,
All right.
so first gig outside of Australia in my term probably would have been US for sure. Probably 30-40% of our market is with US multinationals, and we generally deal in the ICT area with the main players like Intel, AMD, Apple, Trend Micro, Microsoft, Cisco, those guys. So it would have been probably one of those jobs, and if put on the spot, I'd probably say it was a large software company wanting to acquire an equally large software company, and they wanted to do due diligence through testing and research to see which one of the two companies they were looking at acquiring had a better technology.
So you're, as a quite an established company, you get the gig by going out to tender?
Well, no, it depends. I mean, most of our business is probably word of mouth. Government work, we probably do about 60 or 70% of our work is government work, and of course it has to be tendered. So there's probability we have to tender for it, but probably 30% of our work is with private or public listed companies. But of course they have an easier buying framework, so they'll come to us, they'll say, we've got this product, how much does it cost, here's a purchase order, do the work. Which is pretty funny, because you see some of our clients, they don't even understand that that's a process that you have to go through to get work. They're like, how does someone get you to do work? Yeah.
That's how it goes. I just remembered, we have a hashtag, a Twitter hashtag tonight. So if you are a Twitter user, it's #DesignHillGlobal. Okay? And I won't be offended if you pull out your phone and start twittering away and that sort of thing. I remember at last event, I looked at the tweets post-event, and one said ROI skull, and I thought that was youth terminology for saying something naff, you know, like ROI skull. And it was only later that I found out that there was a bunch of people actually playing a drinking game, and every time I used a 3-letter acronym, they all went skull. So if you are a Twitter user, #DesignHillGlobal. Gerry, what was your first gig? Your first international gig?
International one. Our first international one was setting up a range of these. This is like as a current incarnation of technology products or as design.
Your choice.
It's more interesting. Probably doing interactive stuff. We did for the Hogle Zoo in Utah. You know that?
Oh, the Hogle Zoo, yeah, sure, in Utah.
Fantastic zoo, you know.
They've got animals, don't they?
They do.
Yeah,
The whole swag up there. But just the technology there for us was first for us, because it's basically that it went from -35 to +42, you know. And so it's a reasonable range for technology to work out next to bears and lions and things like that. So that took us quite a bit of technology to chuck into that. So I was kind of shitting ourselves really. So the first major assignment over there, it was very complex.
Because one of the, I have a number of themes here that I'd like to bring up. Well, one of them is opening doors. So it seems quite difficult when you're in the context of living in Australia. I know the barriers and tyranny of distance is falling. In the early days, how did you go about opening some of those doors?
I think Jarmal said earlier, sort of relationships. You've got to really build on your local relationships. Your local relationships then lead to keep your eyes open, and it leads to opportunities, internationally. And that's how we set up in China. So one of the guys who worked for me who knew somebody else. And that other person eventually worked for a technology company in China. Kept on relationship with that technology company. They then found out that another division of them had worked with interactive kiosk technology. So again, worked that thread. They came out to here and met them in a couple of bars, and away we went.
I didn't have that theme on my list, but it
Yeah,
seems
it's
to be
kind
building up to me.
It's kind of constant, you know,
Building up to be a
particularly in
thing.
Shanghai. That's basically it.
Sounds very much like any types of business. It's all about relationship.
Absolutely.